Unmute yourself. But it happens to all of us. I had my camera on too, so my camera off. So only reason I knew my camera.
Like, where am I?
If I didn't see that my camera was off, I
Right.
wouldn't realize.
Right.
So,
Right. Hello.
Hello. That's one of the side effects of being a responsible Zoomer. You set your Zoom up to open up on mute because, you know, Chas Shalom, you open.
Someone should hear you breathe.
Exactly. Oh, and you're like yelling at your family. I'm about to go on Zoom. Oh, am I in the Zoom? You know. But then we all forget that the mute is on once it gets started. So, hello. Well, I've got my buddy Rachel here, and I'd like you to just introduce yourself, please. Rachel?
Sure. Okay, my name is Rachel Weinstein. I live in Beit Shemesh. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, Coney Island, and my first Aliyah was to Chicago. And if you're a New Yorker, you know that that was in fact an Aliyah, although New York is in my heart. In Chicago with my husband and kids for about 15 years and made Aliyah almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
I'm married a very long time, thank God, 26 years. And we have 4 kids and 2 grandchildren.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
That
sounds beautiful.
And a dog.
And a dog. Beautiful family. Well, you grew up in New York, in Coney Island. And how old were you, more or less, when you moved to Chicago? Were you already an adult?
I was an adult. I was married for all of 10 minutes. Had 2 kids. I was, how old was I?
A little bit longer than 10 minutes.
15. But we lived in Brooklyn, married for about a year and change. We had 2 kids. We started really early. And then we moved to Chicago. I was 23.
Wow. And then so you lived in Chicago, you said, for about how many years? 15 years?
15
wow.
years. 15
wow.
years. So I say that I grew up in New York,
yeah,
but I became an adult in Chicago.
Yeah, I could see that.
I really did.
I definitely understand that. I have like very similar in that I grew up in New York, and but those like years, young adult years and young parentinghood years and stuff were in Boston. So for me, it's also like I have that love of both cities, and both cities are very special in my heart and very formative, you know, like
yes,
different chapters in the story. So
I agree.
Okay. And then you guys made Aliyah with your family.
With 4 kids.
Wow.
Almost every was a teenager, and the dog. The dog's an Ola. And yeah, our daughter was 16. Our next son was 15. Our next son was just shy of 13, and our baby, not a baby, was 9. So we made Aliyah at the ages, well, not us, but our kids, when people are strongly encouraged not to.
Yep.
And we don't do anything like everybody else. So we did it, and we made a go of it. I mean, it wasn't even like, I can't even say we made a go of it. This was the decision that we made. Yeah. When people would ask, you know, what if it doesn't work? I would say, you know what, my furniture is on an ocean, so I'm not doing this again. Once I'm there, it's gonna work. I'm not doing this again.
You signed up for the one-way trip, you know?
Right. Like I mean, we think about Aliyah as this amazing spiritual kind of experience, and it is, but you're literally moving across the earth. It's a big darn deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And so with our kids, even though we were really highly encouraged, can I say highly enough? We were highly encouraged not to do it with teenagers. We decided that, you know, we were all going to feel our feelings, and we were all going to, that's what my kids get, you know, for having a social worker for a mom. And that's, you know, when they got homesick, you know, we cried with them and said we were homesick too. And when we talked about, you know, why is our milk in a bag? Who thought it was a nutty idea, you know, or why does the cart in the supermarket move side to side? Like, that's not normal. It's just not normal. And why do I have to pay to use my cart? Like, I don't understand, you know.
First of all, we're gonna circle back to this, but the shopping cart, like, we've got to come back to the shopping cart. Go on.
I feel like I'm like in a like the Olympics of shopping carts. I like spin it around like The Exorcist, because it goes like this with the ebbs and flows of the road, where just getting to the car, it's too much work to go shopping.
If anyone is watching this anywhere outside of Israel, they're going to be like, what the heck are they talking about?
Right. So
okay,
you move,
this country is the leader in science, research, technology. You people all have WhatsApp ways. You have so many things.
Cell phones.
In this country.
We
have yet to have been. This country cannot figure out a way to have a shopping cart forward straight, to the point that I went to, we went on a trip when my girls were teenagers. I took the two older ones, and we went into the supermarket, and they were teenagers, and they got to, because they came as little ones, and one of them took the stroller, and they're like, oh my gosh, what's the stroller? It's like they were flipping out about the stroller, because they had never pushed a stroller in a shopping cart in a supermarket that just went forward.
It's ridiculous. What I have for years now told my best friend is, one of the things that this country, I love this country, I am grateful, I'm not looking back, but one of the things that this country can't do, God bless all of us, is grow blueberries for more than 10 minutes. And so my line has been for years, we are the country who made the Iron Dome. The Iron Dome. It's literally like watching, like, Star Wars, not that I know anything about Star Wars, but you're literally watching missiles get shot out of the sky.
Yes.
Well, we can't grow blueberries for more than 10 minutes. I don't understand. It's very frustrating. But anyway, so
when you made Aliyah, what was like internet wise? Were they did we, because you know there's like, you know, you have the different times of, you know, BCE and you know, AD, BC, whatever it is. And I feel like for me, there's like before, like Facebook, WhatsApp and Skype, Aliyah, and then there's after that. So where were you guys?
So WhatsApp, at least if it was around, we certainly weren't using it. There was definitely Skype. Skype was the biggie.
Yeah.
But you know, you'd sort of like be speaking to someone, and, you know, I really miss you, and then you get like frozen like that, and it would be like, are you sad? Are you smiling? Did you have a stroke? Like, what's going on the other side of the screen?
We're getting that now with Zoom. We're going back to that, circling back to that.
But so there was Skype. We had an American line. We used to have a house phone. We haven't had that in a while.
Yeah.
And lots of Facebook. And who knows there was lots of Facebook.
So you were there with Facebook. Like when I When I came, Facebook, I don't think had started yet. Like I think it started maybe a year or two, or like a year or so after I arrived. Like I came right when Facebook like became a thing, and that was in itself, it was just like, wow, I could still see what my friends and family and people are doing across the world. So that was, you know, wow.
So we're definitely a lot more in touch with people. I mean, going to weddings on the computer is amazing and weird.
Yeah.
Going to anything on the computer is amazing and weird. But I mean, thank God, you know, we can connect. We can. It's as good as you're going to get, short of actually being there. So
yeah, absolutely. That is so true. So you mentioned real briefly that while you were a social worker, did you study that? Was that what your job was in America before you made Aliyah? Tell me that background.
So I think anyone who my longtime friends, I won't call them old because we're all the same age and clearly we're not old. But my longtime friends know that I've been told this. You've been a social worker for, you were born a social worker, which may or may not be true. But I went to Stern, got my bachelor's in psychology. One of the few people who still uses her bachelor's. But then I went to the University of Illinois at Chicago, St. Adams, College of Social Work. So I got my master's there, and I worked in nursing homes and hospice for a total of about 20 plus years. When I added it up, it was sort of mind-boggling.
Wow.
And so I stopped doing that when we made Aliyah for a number of reasons. One is that, when you move, for me, when you move to another country, and even though I spoke Hebrew, I didn't speak Hebrew.
Yeah.
Everything changes. The culture, the money,
Absolutely.
the language, the everything changes.
Yeah.
So I remember saying there were two skills I made Aliyah with that I knew for sure I could hold on to, and then I couldn't. I knew how to drive, and I knew how to speak English. I had to take the driving test, and the English was in British English, which I didn't speak very well, but at least now I understand it. So even those two skills, I felt like I had nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
So I didn't go into social work right away for a lot of reasons. One was that I didn't think it was fair to a person who needed therapy and me to still be. I was in the middle of my klita, the middle of my absorption into this new society. And I mean, I joke about the milk in the bags and everything different, but it's really a head trip. Like, I left the United States feeling like a capable, successful adult, and got to this country and didn't know where, I see bags, but like, where's the milk? And people going, it's over there. And why is it in a bag? I don't understand where I am.
Yeah.
So I couldn't give to other people if I didn't have what to pull from, even for myself. The other was I was afraid I couldn't do it in Hebrew. And the other was fear, with a lot of fear. I'll cut myself a little bit of slack in that shortly after we made Aliyah, within about a year or so, my mom got sick and she passed away. Ironically, I don't know if that's the right word, shortly after we moved to Chicago, my dad got sick and passed away. And I thought, you guys really do not like me moving. You did, like calm down. This is not the way you need to, don't protest this way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I just didn't have the headspace, and I was afraid. I was petrified, and I was in my own way for a really long time.
Well, it's legitimate. I mean, because it's, I said that when I made Aliyah, I became the Mexican immigrant in Israel, in that, you would see the Latino stereotype, or I would encounter people where I actually saw the parent speaking to the young child in their native language, and then the young child doing the translation for the parent. They're in a shop, and the parent will turn to the child and say something, and then the kid would turn to the shop, the person, and say, oh, blah 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 blah. And all of a sudden, that was happening to me. My two girls, they 2 years into it, they were translating for me. And I'm going to throw this out there. They still translate. Okay.
I had that tonight. I had it tonight at the doctor's office. With somebody else's kid. Wasn't even my kid.
I'm not pretending that, I got the whole language thing down pat. That is not the case at all. But definitely my language has improved. And I work in English all day long, so it's like part of the problem. But that's what happened. And you do feel, and little things like calling different businesses and companies and arranging things, or checking your bank statement, your credit card statement.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's a huge hurdle. And I love the fact that you said you left a country being a capable adult,
and
you're right here, and you're no longer that. And that's very
Right.
challenging for anyone who makes Aliyah, because that's what happens to us. You just, all of those skill sets that you have.
I couldn't do, I mean, it took me a while to realize this, that people will, you know, either in the States or not so much here anymore, but people will say, what's the hardest part?
Yeah.
You know, it depends on where you're up to in your, I don't want to say in your stay, in your life.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's, oh my gosh, the culture, the language, the this, the that, the other thing. But then I realized all of it. I don't think of myself as someone who is particularly spoiled. I grew up in, for all intents and purposes, a project. You know, usually if somebody says, oh, where are you from in New York? They usually don't expect me to say Coney Island. Like, that's not the island they thought. And there are lots of parts of New York.
Yeah.
You know, so I never grew up thinking that I was spoiled by any stretch.
So you arrived here.
Right. But what not spoiled, and not anyone who thought, I mean, I confident in my abilities and my skills, but not, I mean, the last thing I am is perfect, and I'm really okay admitting that. But I realized the hardest part was my ego. There was an ego under all of that I probably knew existed, but it was like in my face, that when you go from one thing to another with, you didn't do that right, you didn't do it well, you know, having adults look at you and say, why aren't you learning the language? And you're like, give me a minute. Just give me a minute. You know, and people are very kind. You know, some people are mean and some people aren't. But like, that's life. That's not Israel. That's
exactly.
That's the planet.
Exactly.
You know, I've met lovely people, and I've met people that I'm really okay. They're on the other side of the room, the world, the whatever. But you learn. You know, you have to dig so far down that you don't even, like, it's a bottomless pit that you have to keep digging until you find your strength again, until you find your voice again, until you become, I don't think I've ever not been me, but becoming more authentically me. That's actually picked up speed very recently. In terms of going back to the social work thing, I left the States, and I felt like I'd done a really good job. I worked, my last job, I worked in hospice, and for some people, people were dying. I loved it. It was, and not because, you know, people in hospice get complimented a lot. Oh, you're an angel. I couldn't do it. And like, people tell really bad jokes just to get through how hard it is. And we would joke like, I'm really not that nice. Like, you know, but it's holy work. It really is. It felt like holy, and it is. It's holy work.
It's very rewarding. My friend, it's Maria, who I also interviewed. She's a hospice social worker also, and she gave a lot of insight into how she got onto that path, and it's so very, we have an image of it from the movies and from TV shows. That's it. Like, until I met her, like, not until I met her, I grew up with her, but until she went into that profession and she started talking about it or mentioning things about it, I just thought it was like, you know, the place that you go and they give you your last shot.
Right. No, there are a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah.
A lot of misconceptions. You know, euthanasia is illegal, both in America, most in America. I don't know what the rules are now. Definitely in Israel, there's no pulling of plugs. There's
for sure.
There's no like, music doesn't come from like the heavens. Like, it's not how it works. And one of the things I love about hospice is that this sounds very morbid, but everybody dies. Amazing, beautiful, wonderful people, really, really funny people, really angry people, and their families. So you get to meet everyone from every walk of life, and it's incredible. Wow. So I had done that, and then I get to Israel and I stopped. Life just stopped. It's going full speed ahead and stopping at the same time. And so I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I went into teaching, not in front of the class. I taught English to adults over the phone, which was a great way to ease myself in to Israeli culture, because I was actually speaking to Israelis who wanted my one skill set that I still had, right? I could speak English. I also started teaching kids in China. There's lots of different schools. And so that was just a very neat experience, because in Israel, yes, there are different shades and colors and types, but by and large, you're interacting with Jews. And I got to meet people who were different, and I got to learn about a whole other culture and about holidays that I'd never heard of before. And I was particularly touched by one of the holidays in China's tomb sweeping day, which is basically like a yard site day. It's the day to go to the cemetery and clean it's kind of morbid sounding. It may sound better in Chinese, but it was amazing. So, and then after that, I went into writing, because I love to write. And I realized from a bunch of different experiences that I need to go back to social work, because it's very similar to my Aliyah experience. I knew that we needed to be here, and it sounds very goopy and like an ABC school after school special, you know. But it was calling me. It just was. I felt it in my kishkis, and we needed to be here. My husband was ready to pack yesterday, but I needed to whatever. And so once I made the decision, I was nervous. It was a bit of a two-step, but I got here, and I'm not looking back. And that's the way it is with social work. So I'm working on opening my own private practice, and I want to work with people on grief and transitions, things like anything grief, bereavement, loss related. I have my own very personal experiences. I lost both my parents by the time I was 40. I also really want to help people, particularly teens, with the transition of making Aliyah. The way somebody paraphrased it, which I really like, is that it's great when mom and dad have an epiphany. Oh, I feel God, you know. But you tell your teenagers, or your young enough or old enough kids, I should say, we're moving to another country, and you're going to be in the army. Okay, you're on board, right?
Not only that, you're going to lose all of your friends that you know. All the places that you know and you're familiar with.
Everything. It's like you take your whole life and you throw it up in the air, and you just wait for the pieces to fall, and then they don't. And then eventually you learn you can make new pieces. But learning the new pieces is really hard. Basically all of my social work is about transitions, difficult transitions. And the third piece I really want to help people with is particularly for parents, but also for the kids, whatever age that is, of kids, families who are learning that somebody in their family is coming out as gay. And that is particularly personal for our family. We have a 22-year-old son who came out when he was 15-ish, closer to 16. And it was the summer he came out was the year of Sukeitan, right? So as somebody called it, our first war, which by definition means there's going to be more. So it was that year, that summer, and our daughter was dating and is now married and has 2 kids with the guy she was dating. So I always say that, you know, those 3 things happening at once. There's a war going on outside. There's something brewing on the inside, and our daughter was getting ready to move to the next phase of her life. I think the fact that I'm not an alcoholic is proof that God is true, exists. Well, it was an intense summer.
I think that it's when having a child, I happened to grow up in New York City, and you know, I did not grow up. I grew up in a secular environment, and you know, a lot of Jewish friends, non-Jewish friends, everyone all over the place. And I have a lot of friends who are gay and were gay, and I knew from a very young age people like this, and people who had come out to their parents or had not come out to their parents. people who I knew were hiding it. They'd have sleepovers, girls, and the mother's parents didn't know. So I know firsthand the challenges and the experiences that they go through. And one of the funniest things was with my friends when they'd say, oh, I met someone. And there are a lot of my friends that the first question that I asked was, oh, is it a boy or a girl?
Right.
Because it could have been either,
Right.
There were so many of my friends. And, so even if you grow up in that, or you grow up where you have, you're not Orthodox, you're not religious in any way, shape, or form, having that happen is a very, it's a challenge. It's jarring, and it's jarring just because, it's not what you expected. It's something out of not your ordinary. Now take all of that and now add on the extra layer of being, immigrant, being an Orthodox Jew, and all of the ramifications that come with that from the community, from friends. So when that happened, how, Kol HaKavod, first of all, I'm very happy that we're talking to you now, because clearly I don't know what happened at that point, but if you feel comfortable enough to say, how did that impact you? How did that impact your family? And I mean, obviously you guys are able to find the love and the beauty and move forward with it. But initially, how was that for you?
It was intense, to put it really mildly. When again, my hospice experience is the last experience. I worked with families who, either the patient was gay, or the family, somebody in the family was gay. So I was in and out, and I dressed like this. I didn't fake who I was. I mean, my name is, my first name, my last name, everything about me is Jewish, right? So I never hid who I was, but I wasn't in anyone's house to talk about anything but what I was there to talk about. And if they wanted to talk about other things, then that's what we did. But it's one thing when, as a professional, as a social worker, I'm talking to someone who just said, my partner will be in a minute, excuse me. And you're talking to the partner. It doesn't matter what's in your head.
Yeah.
You are there to be a social worker. That's
do your job.
The middle and the end, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing to be respectful and to know that, and to teach your children that it doesn't matter who anyone is. You respect them. You don't have to love everybody. Because as my mother-in-law taught me, not everyone loves us, so why should we love everyone else? Not to push everyone away, but
no,
not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine.
Very sage words, very wise sage words, I have to say.
It just is. Yeah. But it's one thing to teach them that and put it in this bubble. It's another to bring it into your own house.
Yeah.
And this wasn't social work, and this wasn't, being professional. This was my son. It's in my house now, not him as the it. This experience is everything. I was petrified. I remember feeling I had chills, and not the good kind, when we had this discussion. My husband is not a crier by any stretch. I'm the dramatic one. And when he cries, I'm done. And I think it was the first time I had seen him sob. We had no idea what we were doing. We pride ourselves on being really good parents, and obviously that's up to our kids to confirm or not. But this was a test that none of us, we did not see this coming. I expected to talk to my kids whenever, even before they were real beings. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about, I like this guy, I like this girl. We're going to talk about, Shabbos is so boring. We're going to talk about all of that. I'm like, wait, you like someone? Okay. I was not expecting that. And one of the first things I said to my son is, I love you no matter what. And that wasn't a new phrase that I said to him. But I remember thinking, this is no matter what. Oh God, you actually gave me a no matter what.
Yeah.
And so I was very scared. I was scared for what his life would be. I was scared for what our lives would be. I realized for a while I can't give you a time. For a while, I was the mother of the gay kid in my head, not anybody else's, and maybe in other people's, but in my head, woo, I was wrapped in a flag. I, you know, I had to have it make sense to me. But really, he had to figure himself out because he was still figuring it out. We had to come together and figure it out as a family. He came out to each of his siblings separately. We knew months before his siblings, and so it was really hard. We couldn't talk. We couldn't get support because we weren't allowed to, and that was part of it. That was part of the gig. He does know that I reached out to a friend, also an Orthodox Jewish woman whose son came out, and I called her and I said, I don't know what to do now. And we weren't even very close. And I realized I was just sort of like putting this on her, and she was really just grateful that she could support someone. She said, no, I didn't have anyone to turn to.
Wow.
So she was like, turn to me. Like, let me help. I struggled a lot with what does this mean halakhically?
Yeah.
And one of the things she said to me was, my son's relationship with God is my son's relationship to God. He's an adult. There are certain parts of your children's lives you should never, particularly when they're adults, ever get involved in. That goes for gay kids and that goes for straight kids.
Yep.
That's the whole discussion.
Yep.
But I have learned a lot. Being gay is not just about who you're attracted to, who you want to be intimate with, excuse me. The other thing is that my son is so much more than his sexuality. I mean, we've had discussions that in my whole life I never thought I'd have. What do you mean there's more than two genders? What binary? What are you? What? But I don't have to love every conversation. But you know what? I don't love every conversation about anything all the time. There are things that we agree to disagree on. But the beginning of the conversation was always, you're our son. Yeah. So when I asked him a few months ago, I said, was it ever a thought to you that like, oh no, I'm going to come out, my parents are kick me out? It's like, no. And it was really affirming that was never a thought. I know you love me, so like, why would you kick me out? Like, he's the same kid he was before, except now I know this other detail. Yeah. That's it. I do want to say one more thing, because I think it's really important. And I'm very grateful, by the way, that there have been some moms, we had to come out too. I didn't know I was in a closet, but I got like shoved out of it. Yeah. That's okay. Okay. It was very difficult, but it was okay. It's okay. And there are parents that have come to me and said, can I talk to you? Like, don't tell anyone, because my son or my daughter is 2 and I don't know what to do with it. And I figure if my friends could be that for me, you better believe I'm going to be that for somebody else.
Somebody else. Yeah.
But so if people have come to me, I absolutely want to be that support for them, because I'm in a place where I can be, where I don't have to think so hard about my gay son. He's my son. I don't call my straight kids my straight kids. Exactly. I call them my kids. Exactly. I call them, hey, you. I call them the wrong name. One of you come here. Right. It's bad. But one of the things I think is really important is that people will say, and it's very flattering, it's very nice. I am not above this. Remember earlier I said I found I had an ego. I have an ego. Oh, you're brave. You are such amazing parents. Wow, he is lucky to have you. And those are all really beautiful things to hear. I am not going to lie. But somebody in a conversation who I don't even know, because that's how Facebook works sometimes, said, I can't believe all of you are telling this woman she's brave to be a mom. And on one hand, it was like, who do you think you are? And on the other hand, it was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And I'm in a space now where I can say, I appreciate it. Thank you. Every parent has a challenge with any one of their kids. Yeah. None of us are perfect. Yeah. And I don't know, is it brave to love your child? God, it shouldn't be. You should just love your kids. And,
it shouldn't be, but you are doing
And this is not like a fake humble thing. It's just like,
no, not at all. But I do think it's brave. I do think it's especially brave in the community, in the lifestyle that we have, to not only accept but embrace and try to grow with it as a family. Because a lot of people, first of all, your son felt comfortable enough to come to you. Okay, not everyone can do that.
it shouldn't, this, again, this is going to sound very drippy, but I mean it genuinely. Loving your kids. My husband and I take our responsibility as parents, and this is not a statement on anybody else. This is us. Yeah. We take our responsibility as parents really seriously, which, you know, for people who know us well, might sound kind of funny because we're both goofballs. Like, yeah. However old we are, we're actually teenagers. Like, we don't understand why our back hurts because we're like 18. Like, I don't get it. But the point is that as soon as the test is positive, you're a parent. That's it. Okay. Yeah. It's not a political discussion. I'm just saying in terms of your responsibilities and taking care of yourself and all that. So your children's well-being is on you. That's on you. And you have to nurture that, and you have to take care of that, and you have to let them know that you love them and that they're amazing and wonderful because they breathe. And that's something that we have said to our kids at least 1,000 times each. Okay. And so I never thought that was brave or amazing, or like you don't think that about your kid. Like, no, you're the weird one.
But
so when somebody said, what? When somebody said, like, you're so brave for sharing your story, I get it. It's not like I don't get it. I mean, I do get it because I was scared. I can actually finally admit out loud, there's so many closets in the closet. It's really, it's a bit much, but there was the coming out for our son. I mean, and the mountain of work was his to do, and still is. But we had to come out as the family, as the parents of. Then it was.
Here's the thing that I'm going to stop you, because you need to pat yourself on the back a little bit more. You do, but you do need to pat yourself on the back, because not everyone would come out as a family. Not everyone would be accepting as parents and accepting as a family. And unfortunately, there are a lot of cases, not just in the Orthodox community, but in just a secular things where that happens, and a child is disowned. A child no longer has a family. And
my son has, in more than one occasion, said to any friends or whoever, okay, so if you need a place to stay, then you come over. And then he'll say, I just so you know, I told whoever it was that if they have a hard time, they can come here. And it's not even, it's not a question, because I don't understand how you could, how would you do that to a kid? I don't get it. Look, it's hard, and whatever script you've written in your head for your kids, this takes it and flips it on its, it flips it up in the air. But then you learn that it's not so simple as, but you'll get different things. That is true. That is true. Your parental and maybe grandparental dreams, will come out a different way. It's not about my dreams. I want him to be healthy. I want him to be happy. I want all of my kids to be healthy and happy. But I've gone, I mean, I think I can speak for my husband on this too. I've gone from timid and scared and what if people find out and whatever, to you speak about my kid and we're going to have a problem. He's also old enough and smart enough to take care of himself. But the other really incredible thing is that, and I've seen it happen in arguments that none of us actually started. A conversation on Facebook about, I said something about how I was proud of my son, or it was something about supporting your children no matter where they are in their lives, because kids who come out, kids who are gay, wherever on the LGBTQ spectrum, when they don't get the love and the support and the acceptance just for who they are, the rates of suicide go up. I mean, I wasn't willing. My son's alive. I can hug him. I can tell him to shush, which I do apparently too much. I can tell him I need to harmonize with somebody, start putting on your Broadway list, or whatever it is. I wasn't trading that in. That's just not okay. So anyways, I posted a video once of, sorry, I got so disjointed.
Saying you should accept your child, be proud of your child regardless.
Right, and it wasn't even my child. It was just like a random video, not so random, that a video that somebody in a whatever, somebody else made, and somebody started, why do you always talk about your gay kid? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And what? I was just saying, like, please love your children because you don't want them to kill themselves. I do not see how that's a bad message. And it was a very bizarre twist. And people from every walk of my life, religious, not religious, Jewish, non-Jewish, Israel, it was amazing. It was amazing. Came out, and it wasn't necessarily only to defend me or to defend our family. It was, lady, we can hear you when you're right. Like the person who had said it was just very strange. And one of the best things about that whole conversation was that my kids all responded. And we all came together very publicly as a family. And it was very clear that my kids are not nearly as big Facebookers as I am, but they made it all very clear to anyone who would listen. You just don't do that. You don't talk about my brother. You don't mess with my mother. And we're all in this together. And it was like sort of this image of us, the six of us, locked, and I know that our kids are very close and very tight and, and all of that, but they had made it, they're not necessarily as public as their mom is. And they made it very clear. You don't attack any of us. You just don't. Yeah. And so to me, that was the most incredible thing. And for my son, I remember in that Facebook post that, he introduced himself and said, "It is I, the gay child." And it was like so typical of him and so typical of our family to go, like any one of us could have said, "I'm the mom of the gay kid. I'm the brother of the," that's just how we talk. And we were all just comfortable in our own skin. And we were phased because we were all sort of like, what? But we were unified, and this wasn't a planned attack. We were unified, and that was the best thing.
That's amazing.
I'm very proud of us.
Yeah,
I'm very proud of all of us.
You should be. I mean, because that in itself is just an amazing thing. I've spoken to so many people who are accepting of so many other things, so many different people, so many different things. And yet this is something that is so hard for them to fundamentally get and understand. And I've had conversations with girlfriends of mine that I basically said to them very bluntly, no one has taught me to be attracted to my husband. Right. There is a physiological response that I have to the attractiveness of my spouse and the attraction that I feel towards men in general. Right. When I see Chris Hemsworth, when I see Thor without a shirt, I'm throwing it out there. It is just a lovely thing to see. Okay? That's
nice on the eyes.
That was not taught to me by media, by propaganda, by what that is a visceral, physiological, that's the way that I am made, that Hashem.
If you need to put Channing Tatum in front of me to prove your point. No. I'm up for the challenge.
No, he doesn't do it for me. I'm a Chris Hemsworth. That'll do it. Thor's the guy for me. But it's like I say to
I'm
people,
good there too.
I try to like use an analogy, like something that they can
Right.
get, because they're just like,
Right.
it's a mental problem, it's a chemical imbalance, it's a this, it's a, and I'm like, you know what? Hashem made this world. He made good, bad, everyone, and
In every
he
package.
made that person like that for whatever reason. It's not my life. It's not my path that I have to follow, or but Hashem said that this, you can't buy in to Hashem made the world and everything that's in it when it's convenient for you. You've got to like take the entire package, as far as I'm concerned. And part of that package includes everybody, wake of life, who they are, how they feel, good, bad, straight, not straight, okay, whatever you are, that's how you were made. That's how Hashem made you. Okay. Now, then I think you need to, I want to see you go on and whoever you are, live as a good human being and be kind and loving and gracious to whomever is in your way. It's hard for people to understand that this is something that is physiological, that is how they're made, how they're created, and you know, it's tough, and it's amazing how people just don't get that. And you know, it's really, again, it was brave, and it was very accepting and understanding, and not everyone behaves the way that you behave, and not everyone you know, does that, and not only some people accept but hide it, but you know, keep it under the cup, you know, sweep it under the rug. You know, it's not, you know, you're not going out there forming, you know, Beit Shemesh's pride parade, but you are, if it comes up, which but if it comes up, you know, that
there was one actually in Beit Shemesh. It was like, you know,
oh wow,
4 people. But I mean, and for whatever, I mean, it was beyond what anyone expected. I mean, the words pride and Beit Shemesh in the same sentence, you know, and I'm not looking to like, you know, to you know, people really, particularly ignorant people, call it, you know, the gay agenda. I'm like, there's a gay, is there a straight one? Am I supposed to be doing something? Did no one tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? Because that would have been nice. I'll just say this part too, that again, the summer that he came out was the summer that the 3 boys, right? We all heard the 3 boys were captured and murdered. And you know, around the time after they were found, you know, I realized there was something very powerful, that I can hug my son. I can touch him. I can kiss him. I can yell at him. I can sing with him.
He's still in your life.
And these moms can.
Yeah.
And circumstances are very different.
Yeah.
You know, and who am I to throw away my opportunity to have him in my life? You know, what kind of fool would I be? Yeah. He's also kind of cute, so we keep him around. But he's, you know, but he's, you know, how could, you know, these poor moms were, it was, I mean, we all lived through that. It was the first time I had seen terror on this side of the ocean, not just as an American, you know, in my living room. And he's my son. And I lied. I'm going to say one more thing. I really, really, really struggled in the beginning. And there are moments, I definitely have moments, but I turned to a former coworker of mine who lives with her wife in Chicago, and we worked together for a long time. And certainly working in hospice, you know, you become real close real quick. And we're still in touch, and I'm friends with both her and her wife. And I said, I need help. I don't know where to put myself. I don't know what to do. Now, neither of them are Jewish, but her mom is a devout Catholic. I wasn't looking. I wasn't shifting teams. You know.
Yeah.
But you know, belief is belief, and religious is religious. And her mom was really. I mean, I've never met the woman. I've still never met the woman, and I do know that she's gone through pain and loss. And she said that what it came down to for her was that if God created my child the way He created my child, who am I to say He made a mistake? And so that, I don't know, that's pretty darn religious to me. And so there were a lot of people along the way of different faiths, of different everythings that, you know, helped us as a family be where we are. Does it mean that there won't be difficult things ahead? Welcome to life. Once you make Aliyah, it's like, oh, look, another hard thing. All right, I'll deal with it. But you know, he and his sister and his brothers and his brother-in-law and sister-in-law and niece and nephew, you know, they're in whether they like it or not. You know, you're on the team. It's just the way it is. So,
yeah. Well, kol hakavod, that's amazing. And from your experience, your personal experience, I can definitely see like a value and you being able to help other people who are going through something very similar, and whether it's within the, you know, the Orthodox Jewish community or a secular or non-religious community, people struggle with this based on their expectations, not just on a religious level, but just expectations of what their definition of family or what they were expecting to have as their family. And so this could definitely, you know,
and being honest with yourself that, you know, saying, at least as I perceive it, saying as a parent that, you know, that you struggled or that it was hard or that you couldn't accept right away. I think that to a large degree, media or society, whatever that means, tells you, you know, you love your child. That's it. It's that way from the get-go. And the truth is, I love all my kids. And they've all done amazing things, and they've all, each in their own way, done things that I go, really? You know, most when they were little, you know, but that doesn't negate the love and all that good stuff. But it's not, you know, everything takes time to get used to, and things take time to adjust to. And it is a grief process, because you take the image of what you thought was going to be walking down this aisle versus that aisle, and laws that you never thought of would apply to you, and all of that. And you have to, not to get again, you know, too morbid here, but you do have to bury those, because those are not the reality your child lives in. And that's not what's going to fit. That's not their life. That's your dream, and your dream and their life, sometimes they match and sometimes they don't, and you make new dreams. So it's a grieving process. It's like whatever I thought was going to happen, whatever we've seen with two of our other kids is not going to be with this child. But as I've learned from my hospice experience, my social work experience, and from burying my parents, that difficult times, you know, there are things that are always going to be with you. It just, you know, I think about my parents every day. But it's not like you move on, you move forward. You move forward. So you thought you were, you know, sort of imagine it as like a, you know, driving app or a map app, is that what they call it? That, you know, you're going to go this way, no, you're going to go that way. And then, you know, there's a little voice in the phone that says detour to the left, you know, and sometimes you detour and it's not what you expected, but it's great. I didn't expect to be whatever age I was when my parents were both done. They died at different times, but I never in my whole life, after I lost my dad when I was 24, thought I mean, there was a point where I didn't remember my first name. I'm not kidding. And I didn't want to go into hospice because I was afraid. And then I was forced into it because there were no other internships available in my field, and I fell in love with it. So that was a detour. That was a very unexpected, unplanned. I mean, I went kicking and screaming, and then I couldn't get enough of it because it was amazing, holy work. So
that's a very common thread in people's stories that I've been hearing, where one thing led to another, in the sense that they had expectations to do something else,
right,
for whatever reasons they weren't able to, so they ended up doing something different, and it ended up being something that they love to do. So I am going to segue into, you said earlier, you had to find your voice, and I wrote that down because I'm going to use that to segue into the fact that you actually do have a beautiful voice. I know that your social work helps you find your voice in a different place, but I'm talking about your theatrical voice, because for those people that don't know Rachel, she has a powerful voice. She's a beautiful, beautiful voice. And we won't be able to share it on this platform because this video is like a very public video. But for any women who are on, there's a Facebook group
called Isha page. The called Isha page.
Yeah. So we will.
That is my musical playground.
Yeah,
that's where I play.
It's a group. It's a private Facebook group for women, by women, for it's just so that women all over the world, because within the modern or the Orthodox community, women do not sing in public in front of other non-male relatives, basically. And so this is a place for women to sing and dance and perform, just to like throw videos out there. And Rachel posts a video like every couple of days, because she can. She's got that voice. She's not one of these people, there are people who will work on a song for like weeks to like get it right. And Rachel just throws on whatever karaoke song she wants to sing today and says, okay, and sings it.
I do have to say, there was a song that I was feeling it. It was like, I got to do this. And I kept practicing. There was the bridge. The bridge was that wasn't just high. It was like my voice was breaking.
Wow.
And at one point, one of my sons and my husband came into the kitchen. They're like, okay, whatever you're singing. It's like, whatever. But they came and my son put his hand on my shoulder and said, you're going to break your throat. You have to stop now. And it wasn't like, you sing. It was like, the dogs in the like, stop, just stop.
Well, that was the one exception, but for the most part,
you're just
able to pop those songs out. And
my car is a concert, and when my kids are in the car, it's like, I've tried to record everyone, not when I'm the driver and I'm the passenger, and they do not want to be recorded. But I am very proud to say that all of my kids have really, really, really beautiful voices. And then two of my boys especially play guitar and keyboard, and
a very musical family.
It's very cool. Yeah, it's
beautiful.
It's very, very cool. It's really
all my kids sing too, and they have beautiful voices, but none of them want to sing, and it's so gut-wrenching for me, because my side gig, doing a theater company, and no one wants to do it, and it's just like But anyway. Let's talk about you and your performing and your performance and what that gives you and what that does for you, because I love to showcase that we have all these different skills. You have your professional side, and where you do the social work and the therapy with people and how you can help them in those things, but at the same time you also have these other set of skills where it's almost the same, I personally feel, because when I go to the theater and I see an amazing performance, it's very uplifting for me. You should, as the saying go, you should leave the theater, any show that you've gone to, you should walk out of there changed. It should change you. If it's a good show, it will change you. And in order for that to happen, then those singers and actors and performers have to be able to give forward.
Do it.
So what does performing do for you? How does Do you need it? Do you need it? Can you go without it? Like, you know?
I did for a very long time. I mean, I always sang. I would, and my dad, let him rest, would love to hear me sing. And I was in choirs, and I had solos and duets. It was always part of who I was, who I am. My mom, let her rest, loved to sing. Was always in me, and I was really blessed that when I heard a song, I like picked up on the lyrics, you know, quickly. Singing is just, it's part of me. It's really a huge part of me. And I didn't realize how important it was until the Kalisha page. I really didn't. I mean, I know Kerry, who started the page, from Zumba classes and spinning classes, and everyone I was in class with, it was a while ago, everyone got a concert when I was there, because I gauged my breathing on how long I could keep singing and really working out. And I was really working out. And so she started this page, and I think I was like the second video up. I was like, ooh, I can do this, I can do this, yeah. And from there, somebody asked me to perform, and it was not my best performance, but I hadn't performed in ever, like a really long time. And then you had called me and said, like, hey, would you like to audition for Fiddler? And I gotta say, I kind of walked around my house like a peacock, like, you know, I was like, woo! I can see my kids rolling their eyes. But I didn't realize how much a part of me it was. And I cried. I mean, I cried pretty easily, but I cried because it was coming from a place I hadn't accessed in a long time. And it was, I felt alive. When you have something that you know, and singing, I know, it's in my blood. It was like this, I can hold on to this. I don't need to learn this. I don't need to prove it. Yeah. It's mine. This is mine. Yeah. And so it strengthens me, and it makes me feel alive. And also I like to have fun. When I perform on the computer, on my big fancy sound system is my cell phone and my computer. But I'm really proud that what you hear is just me.
You're a natural born performer. That's the thing about people who perform. We're always performing. We're always very expressive, you know. And then the fact that you're from New York, and then you moved to Chicago.
I talk like this, right? You know,
Chicago, New York. There's like the two places where people are like, you know, the most. So
right. Yeah. So I'm very grateful. I'm very blessed, and it's like I feel like nervous to say that, because I never want to come off pompous, or, you know, because I've met people who are like, I can sing that, and I'm like, I cannot. You know, I'm like, all right, it's not my thing. But I'm very grateful that's you know, that's my gift, and I like to connect.
We see it. We see it. It's very, your performances are very honest, and they're very, very natural. And you have a very, you're very blessed in that you have a God-given talent that is very beautiful. You are very humble about it. You're not like one of these, like, you know, oh, I'm a diva. And, you know, thank you very much. We you know, I enjoy
autographs after the podcast.
Huh?
Autographs after the podcast.
After the podcast, exactly.
My driver will be here anyway.
Exactly, to pick you up. Right. But so now I'm going to ask you a few questions that I want you to just answer quickly, not long, quick. Okay. Don't think about it too much. Okay. What is your favorite book right now? It could be something that you reread all the time, or something that you've just read.
I love Jodi Picoult.
Okay.
I love Jodi Picoult.
That's your author, so any one of her books will do. What's your favorite hot drink?
Coffee. Why is that even a question?
Because there are some people from Mars that do not drink coffee. I just have to say.
I cannot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. That's probably
who are they? I'm friends with some of them, and I don't know who they are.
It's just, I can't even imagine. If you could go back in time to any point in time and spend a day with any one person, who would it be? Who would you want to spend that day with?
Oh Lord, I don't know.
That's a tough one, I have to say.
I don't know. This is gonna sound really like woo, but Rav Moshe Feinstein. He even I'm a little surprised I said that.
Wow.
There was an intervention in my family that truly changed the course of my family. And the way the story was shared with me was very like, you really have to have faith. And I was much younger, but I would love to actually have a conversation with him and say, how'd you know that?
Wow.
No, it just you know, it was somebody had faith in me before I never met Rav Moshe, but he had a very long type story. But really, like, we don't have Rebbe pictures in our house, in our thing, but there's one picture, and it's not on the wall just because it came with the marriage. And that's Rav Moshe, and it's just, I feel
that's a very interesting answer. Kol hakavod. Nice. I love asking this question because
I'm even a little surprised myself, I have to say, but yeah.
Everyone is different, and then it makes you think, and then you're like, your favorite thing in your house. It could be a mug, a cup, a picture, a piece of a chair. What's your favorite thing?
Favorite thing in my house?
Thing, not a person. Thing, art item in your house.
Something
that you look at, you just love. It brings you joy.
My dreidel collection.
Oh, see.
I didn't grow up religious, but I went to day school.
Yeah.
New York, they call it yeshiva, even for girls.
Yeah.
And we always had those plastic, dreidels.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I had like an enormous Ziploc of dreidels. And now every year I treat myself to like an artistic one, like a pretty one, a little bit more than, not to play with. Don't play with them. And they're sitting in a break front. And every year I add one, and I have some really pretty ones, some really cool ones. And it's like the old and the new and the funky. Yeah. So, and they don't say Nitz Gadol Hayap Sham, Nitz Gadol Hayap Po, which is like, that's so cool.
That was also like when I made Aliyah, like that was also like, like, oh wait,
here's the shin.
Yeah,
they moved the shin.
So weird.
Yeah, and now the shin is weird. Now the shin is weird. That's like, oh.
Wow. Amazing. And let's see here. You've answered one of them already inadvertently, so I'm not even going to ask that of you. But what is your favorite city that you've lived in?
Oh, that's not fair.
I know.
It's really a toss-up between two, Brooklyn and Chicago. There come the emotions. Brooklyn's. It's where I grew up. I'm holding on to the emotions. It's where I grew up. That's where I became me. Where I was educated up through college, where I met my husband, where two of my children were born. But Chicago, I was determined to hate because it wasn't Brooklyn. And then despite myself, I fell in love with it. I haven't been back to Chicago in almost 10 years. I've been back to I've been back to Brooklyn for weddings and for my mom's funeral, but Chicago I haven't been back to. Wow.
So it's a good way to end it.
Woo! I'm so proud. I waited to the last minute to let that happen, but
yay. Well, thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
And it was great talking with you and sharing your story and your journey, your family's journey in particular, and where you are today. And I'm going to be sure to get your contact information so that we can post with this new social work practice that you're starting. And I think
I'm very excited about it.
And I think there are a lot of English speakers and Olim and people who can benefit from it. And you also can tap into this now global communication Zoom.
Right.
And you can have people, clients all around the world that you can help. So you're a wonderfully talented, warm, giving person, and it's lovely to know you and to talk to you. And thank you very much for this evening and talking.
Thank you, and thank you for only bringing out the tears at the very end. I'm so proud of myself. All right, thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay. If you enjoy our podcast, please be sure to hit the subscribe button at the end of this video.